Hey everyone, welcome back to Chel Chit Chat. My name is Lyss, I am your host, and we've got another really interesting conversation on the docket for you today. In this conversation today, I am going to be joined by Olympic silver medalist Kati Tabin, who is also a player in the Professional Women's Hockey League with the Montreal Victoire. Katie's a fantastic person, and she also represents a really interesting time here in women's hockey. You know, she's someone who grew up here in Manitoba going through the school system. She played high school hockey, she went on to play NCAA university hockey, and then after that, she took some time away. After university, there was no professional women's hockey league to go play in and make a full-time income playing the sport that you love. And then when the opportunity arose to join the Montreal Victoire when the PWHL had their inaugural draft, Katie, as she shares, loved the sport too much and she decided to lace them back up. Crazy to think that was only a few years ago, and now Katie is an Olympian, joining an incredibly impressive list of Canadians to have worn the maple leaf on their chest at the Olympics. What stuck out to me in this conversation was Katie's resiliency and her commitment to meeting every moment. She takes the sport incredibly seriously, and it's turned into a very, very successful career for her. I really enjoyed this discussion, and I know you're going to too, so make sure you hit that like button. If you're watching here on YouTube, hit that subscribe button as well. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, pause, stop, go down, leave a 5-star rating. Thank you. And then without further ado, please enjoy this conversation here on Chel Chit Chat with Kati Tabin. Welcome back to Chel Chit Chat, everyone. As always, I'm Lyss, and I'm super dialed to be joined by Kati Tabin today. This one's going to be tons of fun, chatting all things PW, chatting all things Olympics, women's hockey in general. Katie, I'm so stoked that you're here. How are you doing today?
Yeah, I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's going to be tons of fun. I think it's you're the first PWHL player to come on the show. We've had a couple different women's hockey players who have played college and some international hockey and stuff like that, but actually kind of actively in it right now in this league is, as we know it today, here in its third season. So super excited to chat with you a little bit about it. So kind of just to get started, why don't you tell us a little bit about what the last couple of years have been like, you know, playing in the first ever, you know, full-time professional women's hockey league here across North America?
Yeah, I mean, it's been a dream come true. Like growing up in Oakbank, never in a million years did I think that I'd be, playing in a women's professional league. And here we are, and it just continues to grow. And I think kind of shock all of us with selling out stadiums and the amount of fans. And yeah, it's been awesome.
Yeah, I feel like it's the sort of thing that if you see it, you can be it. And you didn't always see it kind of growing up in terms of, turning on cable and flipping back and forth from NFL game to, local news to, women's hockey on TV. Obviously, we've had some really strong representation from Canada on the Olympic stage and women's hockey and stuff like that. But the actual accessibility of this being a pro league, like all the other pro leagues, is still pretty cool, still pretty novel for, I think, a lot of us. So why don't we kind of bring it back to the beginning, and you can tell us a little bit about kind of how you got started playing hockey. I know you're from rural Manitoba, so am I. So kind of just strapping on a pair of skates, playing out there with the boys is kind of the norm for a lot of kids growing up. But how did you first get into this sport, and how did you decide that you actually really, really enjoyed it, and how did you kind of fall in love with it?
Yeah, I think my brother, him being older than me, I always wanted to kind of follow in his footsteps, and he started playing hockey, so obviously I wanted to. And yeah, I remember during free skate, me and my dad and my brother would go out, and yeah, they'd teach me how to skate. And my uncle and my cousins were really involved too. They're all big hockey players. So I think just kind of being surrounded by different family members who were in the game made me really want to pursue it and be like them.
Yeah, and in Manitoba, for folks who aren't familiar, at least in the last, however long, kind of the trajectory for folks who end up pursuing hockey and, women's hockey in a more, post-secondary, professional, whatever way. The high school system has been really big for girls hockey when people are first, taking that next step into high-performance programs. There's also some huge Hockey Manitoba programs as well. You're kind of involved with both of them. Walk me through a little bit kind of what your high school playing experience was like, as well as any kind of provincial programming that you did on the high-performance side. And then also kind of as a third part of the question, just kind of how you decided / knew that pursuing a post-secondary opportunity in hockey was the route you wanted to take.
Yeah, totally. So I went to Balmoral Hall. We kind of made that decision as a family after moving out of Oak Bank to kind of, you know, go to a school where I really had the shot of going to a university to play hockey. And so that was about grade, I think, 7 going into grade 8 when I kind of realized, okay, like this is an option for girls to do this. And I think that's when, NCAA and playing in the States kind of was introduced to my family and I. And yeah, we made that decision to go to Balmoral Hall, and they helped me grow, not only academically, but also into a good person and a great player there. And yeah, obviously you have a lot of colleges reaching out to you. So it was kind of, a different process because I didn't realize that it would be that hectic, but super cool to kind of have the choice to go to whichever university you want in a way. And um, I ended up picking Quinnipiac for various reasons. But mostly because the coach really challenged me there, and she saw potential in me. She didn't just tell me, oh, you're good at X, Y, and Z. She said, you could really become a good player if you come here, and we help you grow. So I just like that she saw more in me than what I was giving then.
That's really interesting because I think that probably aligns with the mindset and the mentality of a professional athlete. The whole idea of, I'm sure at that time, you're a kid still, and you're getting all these offers from these schools who are probably talking you up and telling you how great you are, telling you how great they are, and being like, wow, you're amazing, you're so cool, you should come play with us and stuff. But, using a recruitment tactic of like, hey, you're pretty good, but I think we can make you even better. Like, these are the areas you can grow in. Like, so that was appealing to you. You thought that was, is that kind of what sold you on going to Quinnipiac?
Yeah, you nailed it. Like it was crazy. Obviously, you have, the group of colleges that have nothing but good things to say about you and hype you up. And then Quinnipiac came around, and I remember my head coach, she came and watched one of our practices with BH, and I was kind of goofing off during the practice, not really working too hard. And she had a conversation with me after, and basically politely said, what the heck are you doing out there? Like, I didn't think you were that type of player, and we don't know if we want you, type of thing. So, I think that just kind of shocked me. Like, oh, maybe I'm not that good. Maybe I do have a lot more to work on in order to kind of become the best, type of thing. So, yeah, I think that was really appealing to me because she actually challenged me. And the more I thought about, okay, I do have a lot to work on. I'm not the best that I can be only in high school. Then I was like, yeah, you know what? I want to give Quinnipiac a shot.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think that would be probably pretty jarring amid all the, being one of the best players, I'm sure, in the province at the time, just based on how things work geographically when people, move on. Not everyone, I'm sure you played with, went to play post secondary. So, yeah, you're getting these offers, and, things are going well, you're contributing to your team and stuff. And, that recruiter being like, well, we don't know. That would probably be a pretty jarring moment as a kid. So it's pretty cool. But obviously, Quinnipiac ended up being the route for you to go at the time that you were choosing to go to university for school, or for hockey, pardon me. Was the idea kind of behind it that you're like, wow, it would be awesome to, get a scholarship so I don't have to entirely pay for university? Was it, I just love hockey and I want to keep playing? Because there are a lot of sports where it's like, oh, you're a pro basketball player. You're like, well, I'm going to pick this college because blah, blah, blah means to an end because I want to go play in the NBA. At the time, obviously, there were some professional opportunities with the CWHL, PHF, stuff like that, kind of over the last few years. But at the time, what was kind of the main motivator for wanting to go play hockey at university? Is it just because you loved it, or was there a certain kind of incentive that made it appealing to you?
Honestly, looking back now, I feel like it was a variety of things. One being because my parents did pay for me to, go to Balmoral Hall. I didn't want them to have to pay anything, to go to college anywhere. So that was kind of on my mind, is I want to go somewhere that I can get a full ride. And then I also wanted to go to the States because typically NCAA is better than the Canadian universities. And then I also wanted to get into Team Canada's program, and I hadn't at that point. And the head coach at Quinnipiac there had been involved over different years with Hockey Canada. So, I thought it's probably my best shot of getting in there.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense when you have kind of options at the table, looking for other things that you could benefit from, and that connection to Hockey Canada. Did that directly serve you? I know we're gonna get to some of your Hockey Canada involvement, because obviously it's been a big year for you, but was there any connection there, or did your kind of involvement with Hockey Canada start after your involvement at Quinnipiac?
So I got invited to my first camp, which was under 22 in I think it was 2018. So that was while I was at Quinnipiac. So my head coach definitely, played a role in, getting me on at least on the roster to try out. So yeah, definitely helped me kind of just get there.
Yeah, people always talk about, like, the concept of like nepo, or knowing people in sport, and sometimes, but I'm like, it can go both ways for you, where it's like, oh, like the head recruiter for for Hockey Canada or anything like that is coaching with my team or working with my team, and it's like that people sometimes think that that's going to give you a leg up, but they're also getting to see how things kind of work under the hood, so it's not necessarily going to give you a leg up if you're not up to the task, because they can see all the warts if they're there, kind of thing. So being able to get those invites, and getting kind of that recognition while they get to see kind of your everyday, you have to earn it to a degree. So that's fantastic that you kind of went to that first camp while you were in university there, and now you're playing pro. So I wanted to hear a little bit about kind of what your professional journey has looked like a bit, because you did, a couple stints with some different teams in the PHF, and then now you're playing in the PWHL. What was your PHF experience kind of like, and what was that like at the time, kind of near the end of, the PHF before the PWHL was created, and kind of going into that first season of the PWHL? I'm sure it was a really, really difficult landscape to kind of manage with all the moving parts, and we had Liz Knox on the show earlier last season, talking a little bit about, from kind of more the administrative side, what the creation of the league looked like, and how interesting it was, and how quickly things kind of came together and whatnot. And on the player side, someone who went from playing in the PHF to the PWHL, what was that journey kind of like for you?
Yeah, so my journey was a little different. So after I graduated from Quinnipiac in 2020, that's kind of when COVID hit, and I decided, you know, maybe hockey just isn't for me. Maybe I should hang him up and kind of get a real job type of thing. So ended up doing that. And then about a year and a bit later, I went to go try out for the Connecticut Whale just to see, okay, like, why not type of thing. And I ended up getting a contract, but unfortunately there was visa issues there. So I ended up going back home, kind of quitting again, getting a job at the rink. And then the Toronto Six reached out to me, wanted me to, come play for them. And this was during playoffs. And I would have had to quit my job. So I said no. And then they offered me a contract for that following upcoming season. And I said, yeah, you know what? Why not? I'm going to fully go for this and give it my all. And I ended up working another job because I couldn't afford to live just off of what Toronto would have been paying me. And yeah, then I signed a 2-year contract, and then we hopped on a call and found out that the league caved, and then the PWHL was going to be having a draft coming up. So I just put my name in, and I remember, obviously there's so much doubt in your head. There's so many good players out there. So I had no idea if I was going to get drafted or not. And I was just sitting at home working at the time, actually, and watching the draft on my TV. And, a lot of girls went to the draft, but I was like, no, I'm not going, because what if I don't get picked to be on a team? So, yeah, that's kind of how that all started.
Oh, that's crazy. I have more in common with a pro player than I thought. I also watched that draft on my TV, so like we're one of the say I didn't get picked. It's okay. I don't hold it against them. But yeah, no, it was a really crazy time. Kind of that I remember finding out that the PHF folded, and I was like, oh my gosh, like just kind of that whirlwind of not sure what was next for the women's hockey kind of landscape, and it's just been an absolutely incredible past couple of years. Obviously, the efforts of Jana Hefford and Brian Burke and all these folks who've just been, making this thing happen. It's just been really, really cool to see how it started and how it's growing and how it continues to grow. So tell me a little bit about kind of what the first season was like. You've played your full PWHL career here in Montreal, and tell me a little bit about what it was like kind of in that first year, and then how things have changed a little bit kind of now as we're here recording right now in the third season of the league.
Yeah, I feel like going into the first season, a lot of us didn't know what to expect. We knew that this was pretty legit, but with female hockey, it's kind of I'll believe it when I see it type of thing. So I think a lot of us were super excited, didn't know how it was gonna go, and then all of a sudden we're selling out, the Bell Center, and we're selling out Scotiabank and um, the other venues, and we're kind of looking around like, holy crap, this is legit. This is here to stay. And then it just kind of kept getting better and better and building off of where can we tweak, what do the fans want. A lot of us changed to new rinks going into year two, bigger rinks to get a consistent fan base. Like in Montreal, we typically get around like 8,000 people per game, and if it's a weekend, it's usually around 10,000. So that's a lot of fans for us, especially after going from no league to this league, and everyone's so excited about it. And the cool thing is seeing not only little girls in the stands, but little boys too. So um, yeah, it's just cool that you know they're not worried about who it is really out there. It's more just it's their favorite hockey player. It's not their favorite female hockey player or men's hockey player. It's just their favorite hockey player. So that's kind of cool for all of us to see. And the league just continues to grow. Like I'm pretty sure there's going to be another expansion, and after expanding the last season with the two new teams, it was obviously successful. So it's just cool that it's here to stay. It's growing, and we just want to make it better and better for the next generation, that when they get to this league, that maybe they're making millions by then.
No, exactly. It's really cool to be part of it, kind of watching it in real time. A couple months ago, I was doing an interview ahead of a screening of a soccer documentary that was happening here in Winnipeg, and so I was talking to Desiree Scott and Diana Matheson, and Diana Matheson offhand mentioned, she's like, yeah, I mean, like, because this coming year we're gonna have 3 professional women's leagues in Canada, and 3 years ago we had 0, and I was like, oh my gosh, you're totally right. Like the PWHL started 3 years ago, the Northern Super League for soccer started just last year, and then the Toronto Tempo for the WNBA is coming to Canada this upcoming season as well. And I was like, oh my gosh, like we're truly like seeing it kind of escalate in real time, and there's so much proof of concept of how women's sports leagues have become so such an excellent investment. They're so sustainable, and they're just such an exciting environment to be a part of if you're a fan of the sport. So it's really cool to see, and you're totally right that the expansion that we saw this year, kind of in the PWHL's third season, has been super successful so far as well. So it's super exciting to see, and so I want to hear a little bit more kind of on your side. Obviously, you had a moment or maybe multiple moments in the last 5-6 years where you thought maybe that was it, maybe you're done, kind of retirement, or just go in a different direction with your life and stuff like that. And what is it kind of like having that mindset of, now that you're in it, you're all the way in it? Like there's a period of time where you, like you said, you're doing other jobs and stuff like that, but now that you get to fully train, full-time hours, you get to be with your team kind of all the time, full professional athlete mode. Kind of what's the mindset shift been like of going from like, okay, this is, while I'm in school, but school kind of has to be the priority and I need to focus on my studies, and then it's the PHF, so you have other jobs, and now that it's like fully, your life, and it can be your life, even though it's been such a big part of your life for your entire life. How many times can I say life in one episode? But what is the kind of the mindset been like, kind of going from not 0 to 100, but going from like 80 to 100, and now getting to have all of this, capacity to invest in the sport?
Yeah, it's crazy. It's truly just a dream come true. It's so funny because, I remember the first year I would come home after practice and I was so bored. I'm like, I feel like I should be doing something else. I should be doing my other job. I should be, studying or something. But then you kind of come to terms with, no, like this is your job. Like you just went to work, you just worked out, you just practiced, or you just played a game. You can relax and enjoy this type of thing. So it's funny because now every year, all the first years go through kind of the same thing. Like, I'm bored. I need a hobby. I feel like I should be doing something else. Just because, yeah, we're still not really used to it, that this is a full-time job. So it's just, yeah, it's so cool to see and be a part of. And um, I definitely find myself trying to take a step back and really appreciate, like, wow, this is already year 3. Like, how cool is this that I get to do this every day?
Oh, for sure. I think that that's kind of a common narrative that I hear in a lot of different episodes of the show, whether it's, people who, work in media, or people who kind of work for a team behind the scenes, and just kind of having those moments of reflection as often as you can, where it's like, I get to live my dream every single day. Like, this is so cool. Like, I can't believe, so many people would just give up anything to be in my position, and I get to be here, and I'm not going to take it for granted, and I'm going to rise to the occasion. So that's obviously something that looked a little different for you this past year, where, being fully committed to the sport and fully committed to your team took on a bit of a different look when you were named to the Canadian Olympic team and you got to represent Canada at Milano-Cortina. So I can only imagine you telling yourself, 5-6 years ago, when you decided that you were done hockey post university, that in 6 years from now you'd be going to Italy with your teammates Marie-Philippe Poulin and Laura Stacey, who you play with every single day in Montreal, to play with them, some of the most clutch players in Canadian hockey history, on the Olympic stage on their team. I'm sure you would have just been, beside yourself, like, oh my gosh, what are you talking about? So tell me a little bit about what that Olympic experience is like, getting named to the team, and, getting to be there and soak it all in.
Yeah, it was a like true dream come true. Like, oh my God. Just kind of doing a little reflection and looking back to what I've kind of overcome and what I've set my mind to, and finally achieving this dream was like, holy crap, be so proud of yourself that everything like you've done over the past, couple of years was for not or wasn't for nothing. And yeah, it finally paid off. So just making that team was, you know, uh, a dream come true in itself. And then getting to Milan and being in the village and kind of seeing all the other athletes, it was also like a pinch me moment. Like, wow, I'm here. The opening ceremonies, I think, is when it really clicked. We're waiting with all of Team Canada to walk out of the tunnel, and you walk out, and I don't even know how many fans were in that soccer stadium, but it was just packed and everyone's just cheering for Canada. And, it's only about probably a 20-second walk that you're on that stage, but it felt like forever. Like we were just owning that moment in that moment, and, having so much fun together as a group. So that was probably when it first clicked for me. And then, putting on the jersey for the first time, um, just doing all the little things in the village. Yeah, it was so cool, so cool.
Yeah, I bet it's one of those things you watch on TV your whole life, you hear stories about and everything, and then you actually get to be there in the moment, and you're still just like putting one foot in front of the other, like you do every single day. But you're like, but I'm doing this like in the Olympic Village as an Olympian, and soon to be Olympic medalist, before you knew that was coming. Like, that's crazy. That's so incredible. And I'm curious to know, like, how do you kind of manage, because obviously there's that huge, the honor and the excitement and everything, but with that comes an insane amount of, pressure, and there's so many outside forces and internal, things, and all of a sudden you're playing on a team with people who you play against every single day and stuff, and just kind of how did you manage that kind of excitement and that joy, and being there with the whole idea of, you're here to do a job and really locking in, were there certain things that were more difficult for you, or was it just kind of, put your head down and do your job like you do every single day? Now you're just wearing a different jersey and playing a slightly different system.
Yeah, it's I don't know, everyone's different. For me, I just kind of went into it with the mindset of it's just another hockey game. As silly as that sounds, because I know it's the Olympics, but that's kind of what I do to, calm myself down. And there's no point in working yourself up because then you typically don't play good. So I just tried to go out there and really enjoy it, like take it all in, have as much fun as possible, be as good of a teammate as I could be, and yeah, just kind of like you said, put my head down and just got to work.
For sure, yeah. I think, what got you to that point, the reps of playing for the Victoire, and being such a strong player and everything like that comes from, playing the game a certain style of way. And if you make the moment bigger than it has to be and you start playing differently, it's like, well, that's not the player that we asked to be on this team. So you kind of have to, like you said, accept and appreciate and respect the moment that you're in, but also remember that, this is the type of player you are, and you can go out there and you can show that. And I'm curious to know, there were a lot of teammates that you had on your PWHL team that were on this Olympic team. And what was it like kind of getting to share that experience with them? And did it kind of make it feel more comfortable? And did it kind of help to have your teammates from Montreal also there with you and kind of in Italy?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, originally just going to the first couple camps, it was super nice. Having some of my Victoire teammates there and just made it seem a little more, familiar. And they were all so great to me about, as little of here's kind of what to expect, this might look, here's what you should pack type of thing. So that's just like a peace of mind, kind of having people in your corner that'll help you in that way. And then actually getting to the Olympics was so cool to be able to, yeah, share that moment with them. And it's so crazy because, for Pooh, that was her fifth one. For Stace, I think that was her third one, I believe, or fourth one. But it is so cool. It was like it was their first one again. So to be able to, experience that with them and just see their excitement, and even though they've done this before, they're just as excited as I am. And um, yeah, it was really special to be able to do that with them.
Yeah, it's cool. It's one of my favorite parts of Olympic sports. Like, you see it a little bit in curling, but like hugely in hockey in the Winter Olympics, the whole idea of like, putting together a super team, right? Where it's like you're bringing these people who are, they might be rivals during the day where they're, playing in their proper leagues at home and everything like that. And then you kind of put them on the same team together. And it's just, it's electric for us as the viewer. And I'm sure it's tons of fun as well. You have so much respect for the players that you play in, that you played against when you were in college, that you play against now in the PWHL, and kind of getting to put on the same jersey with them and have a common goal. It must be pretty cool. So kind of just my last question for you today before we let you go, because you've been so gracious with your time today, is just kind of looking forward and kind of reflecting on how your journey so far has kind of contributed to where women's hockey is going from here. So I'm just curious to hear kind of, what you're excited about going forward, and how you feel like the trajectory of, the league is going, Canadian hockey program is going, Manitoban hockey is going, kind of, take your pick on the angle you want to answer this question with, but just kind of what are you excited about going forward, and how do you feel like, this growth is really inspiring the next generation of players?
Yeah, I think it's really cool to see. You know, Me growing up in Oakbank, I think there was maybe one more girl that played on the boys team with me. And now when I visit Oakbank, they have, you know, I don't know, different age groups of girls, and probably one to three teams per age group in Oakbank. So even just that change is phenomenal to see. And then, you think about 10, 20 years down the road, I'm sure it's going to grow even more. And just seeing and hearing throughout Canada how many girls are getting involved in hockey. And even if, they don't have the mindset of they want to play in the PWHL, it's not about that. It's really just about the love for the game and having fun and making friends and making memories. And um, when I think about hockey, like, that's what I think about, is the friendships that I've made, and the times in the locker rooms, the bus trips, etc. So it's just very cool to see, more and more girls getting involved, and how happy it makes them when, we maybe give them a high five after the game, or throw them a puck, um, behind the glass to them. So it's super exciting. And I always think about when I have kids, and I pray that they want to get into hockey, but if they don't, that's okay. But if they do, and let's say they make it to the PWHL, I just wonder, where's the money going to be at? How many teams are there going to be? Yeah, so it's exciting, and I can't wait for it to continue to grow.
Yeah, you're gonna be like, yeah, when I was first playing the league, we only had 6 teams and we were getting 8,000 fans a game, and they're gonna say, sure, Grandma, let's get you to bed, because it's on its way up. So, Katie, thank you so much for joining us today. This was tons of fun. All the best to you as you kind of keep going through the season here. We're really looking forward to seeing how the league continues to grow, and how you continue to represent Manitoba on the Hockey Canada stage, as well as the professional women's hockey stage as well. So, thank you so much for joining us today, and folks, thanks for listening in. We'll see you next time. Thank you.